Hey, we're back in the office. Thanks for joining us. And we're finishing up today our section on headship. Like I said last time, I love to talk about the headship of Christ. I love to think about the frail, fickle body of Christ having this divine head that will pour his life into us. He's the life of the vine in the soul of the church. And so that always gives me, in the midst of our own way of frailty, hope. It gives me a lot of hope to say we're not in this without an ultimate power, and that would be in Jesus. Today we're going to talk about something different that I seldom talk about, and I've seldom heard it talked about, and this is it. We're going to talk about the headship of Jesus, who is a friend in lament. We know, most of us know, that about 1/3 of the Psalms are lament Psalms. We also know that there's a ton of things that happen in a local church that needs lament. Like when somebody goes off the deep end in unbelief, we can stop and lament. Or when someone is facing tragedy that just seems like they're in such a dark spot, we can lament. And nobody does that better than Jesus. Listen to this one. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, that is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? And I have no idea how the feeling was with him at that time, and sometimes I have no idea about all the theological implications of this, but I know that no one has the joy of Jesus like the joy of Jesus, and nobody has the lament of Jesus like the lament of Jesus. And guess what? Our divine head over our church is a perfection at lamenting. And so here he is. And so when the church body needs empathy or sympathy or concern or to show mercy or to cry out in grief, we have our head who can pour his life into us so that we can really relate, pray for, and support those that are around us who are hurting. I think it's so cool. You know, a healthy church, we talk about a healthy church in all kinds of different ways. I have never heard a lecture on a healthy church that talked about a healthy church knows how to lament with its members. Never heard that. But we're sharing that today because that's part of it. In fact, Teresa and I at home, man, our prayer list can just grow and grow and grow. And there's all kinds of things from death of elderly people to the death of young people and terminal illnesses, and the list goes on. And so we try to keep track and pray. And I work hard at trying to say, now what would I say to the Lord about this? Jesus knows exactly how to pray about this. And so if Jesus knows how to pray about this, in fact, you know what? Think about it now. He authored the Psalms. He sang the Psalms. He prayed the Psalms, and many of the Psalms were about him. In fact, this particular verse that I shared with you, John 17:4, that came from the cross, of course, was actually the beginning of Psalm 22. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? And so I'm just pouring out this reality that Jesus is an authority on lament. One of the more recent books that I have loved very much, it's called Dark Clouds and Deep Mercies by Mark Vrogop. And here's how he defines a lament. He says, it is a prayer in pain that leads to trust. It's a prayer in pain that leads to trust. You know what? I've been in a lot of conversations with people who have suffered pain and they have turned their back on God. That's not lament. That's bitterness. And so there's a way for us to operate between the poles of pain in life and the sovereignty of God, and that what helps us to navigate that is the whole idea of learning how to lament like Jesus. And so I'm just excited to tell you that if your church is going through a hard time, and you have people in your church, in your friendship bank, or whatever it is, that's suffering harshly, that the head of the church, the head of your life, Jesus, can teach us how to pray. Well, I love what Mark said when I heard him speak on this subject some years ago. He said, it's human to cry, but it's Christian to lament. And so if the body of Christ is allowing the headship of Christ to pour his life into them, they can become really, really good at lamenting. And that will make a huge difference in their ministry, in their community. And so let me wrap up. This is just a 4-point wrap up of what Mark says in his book, Dark Clouds and Deep Mercies, and how this works. He said, number 1, no matter how much pain, do like Jesus. Keep turning to prayer. Keep turning to prayer. Number 2, go ahead and bring your complaints. That's okay. Bring your complaints. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? And you know, David, another psalmist, there was a lot of complaints that were brought, and they were inspired and put in the Bible. So bring your complaints. Ask boldly. What's your request during this? So ask boldly, but then finally, choose to trust. And you know, Jesus modeled that perfectly. And as a church, when he is our head, we can truly learn how to be a friend in lament. God bless. I hope this helps. You've been recording all of this?
Yeah.
So what are you going to do with the information?
I'll go through it and I'll see anything that was funny, and I'll put it at the end of the video, so people who watch the whole thing will be able to enjoy something, a special sneak peek behind the scenes.
Yeah, cool. All right, here we go.
Ready?